What's up, everyone? This is episode 3 of Tough Runs Don't Last. This is your host, Grandpa, co-host over there on the other screen, Michelle Zangoulis. Say what's up, Michelle.
Hello.
Hey, you didn't say what's up, Michelle.
I decided to
Anyway,
change it up.
there you go. Good job. Anyway, we made it to episode 3. We haven't been canceled yet, so we'll keep going as long as we want to. Okay. As far as things to discuss, I had a 10K race in downtown Little Rock over the weekend. It was yesterday, Saturday. It's called the Capital City Classic 10K, and it was in downtown Little Rock. It was very unique because, I mean, it was literally just in the middle of the city, middle of downtown. You don't see many races like that unless they are a big, like, race, like a big marathon type of thing. Or I don't know, like Chicago will have its series. They'll do a 5K and things like that in downtown. So you have these, in your big cities, but this was my first time doing something like a 10K in a big city type of setting. And big city for Arkansas is Little Rock. So it was very neat to do that. And we'll discuss that. We'll also talk about what Michelle and I are doing next Saturday. We will both be participating in a 1 mile race in Searcy called the Wildcat Extra Mile. It is on the campus of Harding Academy. So their mascot being the Wildcat. So there you go. That's why it's named that. And we will talk about I guess you could say maybe even a little bit of a taboo topic as far as runners go, and that would be virtual races. What our thoughts and experiences are with them. It's a it's weird. It's like a controversial topic amongst runners. It shouldn't be, but it is. And we'll discuss that and see what else we have going. But okay, Michelle, how's your training going for this 1 mile race we have next Saturday?
What is training? What does that consist of?
Well, for a 1 mile race, I don't have a lot of experience with that. You ran the 1 mile race in high school, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So, I mean, shouldn't you know?
I mean, it's been a minute since I've done that, so who knows? I have done absolutely no training in preparation for next week's race. My goal is to do it.
And complete it. So that includes completing it, I assume, right?
Hopefully.
Okay. Well, I hope so too. I mean, you did a half marathon like 3 weeks ago. I think you can handle 1 mile.
Yeah, but I walked the half marathon, so this is different. I'm
And
also
you
changing up my intervals because it is only a 1 mile. So who knows what's going to happen?
and you did break your foot getting off of a bus, like stepping off of a bus going to work, correct?
That did happen, yes.
So we've had rain. Uh, there's been some heavy rain, some storms. There could be a pothole or two that you miss. Although this 1 mile race, I've done it twice, and it was very congested the last time. There were a lot of people. I had to do bobbing and weaving early, which is going to kill your time in a 1 mile race. So I came in 3 seconds slower than what I did in 2019, which was the last time I did that race. And when I came in at 6 minutes 27 seconds, I will talk about my goal for this one. First, let's go back to the Capital City Classic, the race from Saturday. This was a returning race. It was, it had been I don't know how long this race had been going on, the Capital City Classic 10K, but they didn't have it last year. They had it in 2022, but they didn't have it last year because there's some major storms that came through Little Rock this time last year. A big tornado that did a lot of damage in Little Rock, and certainly that part of Little Rock. A devastating storm. Wrecked homes, businesses. In fact, where I picked up my packet that Friday was at the new location of Rock City Running because that store got obliterated in the storm last year. I mean, just completely annihilated, destroyed. But I like the new location. I like the new spot. Um, I still like the old one, but what can you do, right? After something like that. But It was different. It was good to see it back, even though this was the first time I had ever done it. You always want to see something like that come back and come back strong, and this one did just that. Did just that. I think there were close to 1,000 runners yesterday. I don't know if that's combining the kids mile and all that, but there was a kids fun run. I say it's a mile. I don't know if it was a mile. I can't remember. It was probably a mile. But parking was my biggest, like, it was a 10 out of 10 race as far as how it was put on and organized and all that. The scenery of just running through downtown was the coolest part to me. I was okay with all the hills. It was not a PR course, by the way, but I ended up getting a PR, I guess just because I'm in better shape and I don't do 10Ks very often. But parking was something I was not quite prepared for. I got there 30 minutes early and I already had my packet, so I didn't have to go like get my packet. I had planned to drop off my gear, being like a hoodie and my keys. They gave you a bag for that. And how that works is you write your bib number on a bag, you go to the gear drop off, you hand the bag over to them, and they'll keep it for you till after the race. Because it was chilly. It was kind of chilly yesterday morning. Hello, Midnight. Midnight is making an appearance here on the show. He is the stallion in the background that just laid down. We think it's a dog. I think it's a horse, but anyway, that's Midnight.
He
So
is a dog and he's offended that you're questioning that.
he doesn't look all that offended.
He
Uh,
looks very offended.
he has a very camera friendly face, though. So I'm glad Midnight has made an appearance on the show. Very handsome fella. But parking was something else. So I just went to wherever it said the course was on the corner of Markham and Broadway, I believe. So I just put that in the GPS and then I go, right? I mean, I know where that is, but still, it's early in the morning. Let's just make certain of this. So I get there. It's over by where Dickie Stevens is, where the Travelers play. Which, by the way, I'm rocking a Arkansas Travelers baseball hat, one of my favorites. But I get there and the road's blocked off because this race is about to happen. In fact, the kids race is about to start. It started at 7:30. The 10K started at 8. So I start to park like where most people park for the Travelers baseball games. It's a huge parking lot. It's not where you and I normally park. It's where fans actually like pay to park. So I pull in, it's free. And I say, yeah, I mean this could be a good spot but to park, but that's a long way to the start. I'd have to go over that bridge, to get to the start line. And there was a kids race going on, like I could no, they weren't going over that one. But because when I drove away, I could see them going over that bridge over by like where the State House Convention Center is and all that. So anyway, I decide to leave. I decide to go park somewhere else, and then I realize it's starting to get closer to the race time. The start of the race. I need to find a place to park. So I just go to where I know. I go to that parking deck behind Flying Fish in downtown Little Rock on the River Market. Go up to level 5 as I always do. I park, make sure my ticket's in my seat. I get out. I put my bib on. I put my race shoes on. And when I actually locked up the car and walked towards the elevator, I had, I think, roughly 15 minutes till the race began. And I have to go several blocks, to get to the start. So I basically, as soon as I hit the ground floor and get out, I get my warm up jog in, bef- just getting to the start line. So I put in a pretty light jog to get to the start line, not running too quick. But as you're going, you're making sure you have paranoia going on in your head. You're like, did I look at the map right? I don't see anyone going, of course, because they're already there, right? The runners are already there, getting ready to go. I did see a guy on a bike going by, and he said, "Almost home," and I didn't know what that meant. I assumed that meant I was getting close. But I just keep going. I remember that it was by the DoubleTree, and coming like when you run the Little Rock Marathon, when you're coming to the finish, you pass the DoubleTree before you get to the finish at the State House Convention Center. So I was like, okay, I just need to go further on. And sure enough, I see a group of people going to the start, and then I get there, and there's a huge group of people, at the start line waiting for the 10K. I got there with five. As I was running up to the scene, they were singing the national anthem. So I've never been late to a race. I've had to do the closest I ever came was a 5K several years ago where I had to run to the start line, and they were starting the race like as I was running to the start line. And like they were finishing the national anthem as I was running up to it, and then they started it right after. I was at Burns Park in like 2019, 18, 19, something like that. But yeah. So I got there with 5 minutes to spare, get in the corral, and we go. And I'm coming out hot. Like, I didn't really feel all that fantastic. I mean, my bladder was empty. I didn't drink too much water beforehand for that reason. I didn't know what the porta potty situation was going to be. I come out hot. My first mile was like 7 minutes, and so which is fast for me for that distance, a 6.2 mile race. That's fast for me. And I tone it back to where I'm running roughly 746 per mile, 740. I think it was 746 is about what I averaged the rest of the way, and maintain that through the finish and PR'd by, gosh, like 40 seconds, something like that. I had set my previous PR, years ago, might have been 2018, 19, that range, back when I was doing this all the time on a regular basis. And that was a race in Searcy. But yeah, finished and saw a lot of people I knew. So I didn't see the PR bell. Um, that you rang when you get a PR. But it was neat. The most enjoyable part. See, with that pace, I was unable to enjoy the scenery around me. I did get to mile 5 at a certain point, and I looked up. It was cool. It reminded me of like running through Chicago in the Chicago Marathon toward the end, where you're just running through the middle of downtown and you have all these people cheering you on. You didn't have people cheering you on in this one, but I remember just distinctly looking up and saying, "Man, this is really cool, like, scene to be racing in." And that was about as much of the enjoyment I had and took in, and then it was just back to pushing myself the rest of the way. But yeah, it was a good time. You finish in the whole thing's in downtown Little Rock. So I mean, you finish, you go get your water. They had food, they had coffee, they had beer. So I grabbed a couple slices of pizza. The 7 brew line was way too long for me, but they had an ice chest full of Flyway light beer. So I had my pizza, I grabbed a beer, and enjoyed myself. Like I said, I'd say a 10 out of 10 race, and I really only blame myself for the parking situation. I should have known if I'm going to a race in downtown Little Rock that I need to prepare to find a place to park. And yeah, like you can't just pull up to the start line and go. So that's my assessment. 10 out of 10 race. Highly recommend. Yeah, good food, good drink after. Highly recommend the Capital City Classic 10K. I am rocking the medal, this thing around my neck. This was the first year they did medals, I learned. So for the camera there, you can kind of see it.
For those
But
not on camera, it's the Arkansas State Capitol with people running in front of it and the Arkansas State flag behind it.
it
So
is. I didn't even really look at it that close, I'll be honest with you. I just did that first glance thing. I was like, yeah, it's nice. And then I had it, and then I came home and I put it in my seat, and then came home and then put it on my desk, and didn't really look at it again until I put it on this episode. Well, and didn't even really look at it until you mentioned it. So
we do
point
have,
is, go ahead.
I was gonna say, we do have a really nice Capitol building. So I like that they used that as part of the Capital City Classic.
And we did run by that as well. We ran by that, and that was another thing that But I was so tired at that point, I didn't even really take in what I was seeing. It was just that, oh, you're running by the Capitol, and then you continue on pushing yourself and getting your breathing right and all that. But this has been a fun race series to do as far as the Grand Prix. It forces me to train because I want to do as well as I can in this series to gain points and work towards placing in my age group, which is a very competitive age group, the 40 to 44-year-olds, which is still kind of weird to say because I'm 39, but I'm in the 40-year-old group because that's how old I'll be at the end of the year. And but it's a very competitive age group, so it forces me to be consistent with my training. I'm going to go for a run, a training run, as soon as or shortly after I get off of this thing today. So I'll be doing that this evening. And but the big thing is the competition level. You kind of feel like you have to stay with the pack, and that forces you to bring your A game, even if you're not feeling 100% that day. Like for the spring fling 5K that you and I did in Cabot, I was just hoping to come in under 24 minutes. I came in 22:36, I believe it was. And yesterday I just wanted to come in under 50. And I think I looked at my watch after mile 4. It was 4.22. I remember because I looked at my watch just to see how I was doing time wise. And if I could have averaged like a 9-minute mile and would have come in under 50. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. It's just how well am I going to do? And I set weird goals for myself during a race. Like I told you yesterday after, I said if I actually come in under 48 minutes, I'll go for a training run Sunday. For whatever reason, I found that as a reward. I think it's because I skipped Wednesday because I had a whole ordeal with thinking I left my bag at work, but I didn't, so I didn't get home till late, and I had a bunch to do anyway, so I skipped my training run Wednesday, so I think that was my way of saying, "All right, you can make up for it and get back on track if you do this." And for whatever reason in my head, that was just the reward. I'll reward myself by breaking 48 minutes in the 10K for the first time by going for a training run on Sunday. Does that make sense to you?
That's not a reward. A reward is like, I'm gonna get like a coffee or ice cream, or I'm gonna let myself like lounge on the couch and watch TV. A reward is not going for a training run.
That's how my brain works. I think I was saying I'm going to thank myself and my body for being able to do this by continuing on this like training routine that I've or said I'm going to dedicate myself to doing. Made sense in my head at the time. Of course, when you're running and pushing yourself like that, you're not exactly thinking how do I say this? You're not doing calculus while you're doing that. It's just
Are, I'd be
whatever.
impressed.
I couldn't hear you. What'd you say?
I said, if you are, I'd be impressed.
Well, there are memes out there of those. There's a meme of something saying it's a girl saying like he's probably out cheating or something, or no, it's I wonder if he thinks of me while he's running, like that thing, and it goes to the guy and it says something like, "If I don't get to that tree before that car, I'll die," or something like that. And that's true. I do things like that. It's not necessarily death, but it's just something that pops into my head. I'll do that on a training run. If I don't beat my car, or if I don't beat that car behind me to my mailbox, something bad will happen, whatever it may be at the time. Is that something you've ever done or that women will do in general?
I mean, I can't speak for all women, but that's definitely not something that I do. I might say, like, I have to run until that next tree or that light pole or that mailbox to like keep myself going. But that's also why I listen to music when I run so that I don't have to worry about that. I just start singing along to whatever song's playing.
Do you actually sing along to it?
I absolutely do.
Yeah, I can't stand like music is fun for two songs for me. Back when I would try it, one, you have stuff in your ear while you're running, and when you sweat as much as I do, that's going to fall out very easy. But I had those headphones that would wrap around your ear, like they were literally wrap around your ear, so they can't fall out. And but it just got to where I was like, I realized I don't like this. Like it's for me, it was good to have music for two songs, and that was it. Or at the very end of your workout, like I could see it at the very end of my workout or race or something like that. If they wanted to pop on like a Hulk Hogan's Real American theme song toward the end of the race, then yeah, that would give me an extra like jolt of electricity, and I'd be able to push on. But that's probably not a realistic scenario, so I'm just probably going to do without music. I definitely wouldn't be singing along to it, but then again, you and I have two different paces, so
We do. But
nothing wrong with either one.
I use the bone conduction like headphones so they don't go in the ear. It wraps around and it sits in front of the ear. So it's also like safety so you can hear the cars or things like that. You can hear when other people are coming up behind you, things like that.
Which, by the way, race directors everywhere strongly discourage wearing headphones during a race. And the reason for that is a lot of these races are on a road where I mean, they're not, you can't completely block off traffic. Police can hold cars while you're passing and all that. But usually traffic's live, and you need to stay to the side and all that, or the road and all that. And a perfect example is the River Trail 15K I did. It was in Burns Park and it was mostly on a trail, but at the end, I mean, there's live traffic. And this guy had on earpieces and was just listening to music. And he had, for whatever reason, ventured off into the middle of the road. And a car got behind him and they tried honking politely, but the guy wouldn't move because he couldn't hear them. He couldn't hear the honking. And so, for literally probably about 3 minutes, 3 whole minutes, this car was just laying on their horn, trying to get this guy to get out of the way. And finally, like he finally realized it and got out of the way. But that's a perfect example of why you don't wear headphones during a race. Also, if somebody's trying to pass you, they might say like on your left or on your right, and you're not going to be able to hear it. So that's why race directors and staff and all that they don't want you wearing headphones during a race, which I completely agree with because of stuff like that. So that's why they don't do that. But for a training run and all that, do whatever you got to do. Although, if you're running on a road, you don't need to be wearing those for that reason. That very reason. You can't hear cars coming and things like that. People
That's
tell me, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's true. And that's why I feel like the bone conduction are a good compromise because you can still hear everything around you. And a lot of races do have gone to allowing those because it doesn't interfere with traffic and other people giving directions and things like that.
You can still hear everything going on outside of you, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I didn't realize that was what they did or that they didn't go all the way in your ear.
It's not in your ear at all. It sits like right on like the bone here. I don't know what bone this is, but it sits on the bone. And nothing is in your ear at all.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. I have seen those. I
Mhm.
didn't realize they didn't go in your ear, though. I never looked that closely either. Okay. So, yeah, Capital City Classic 10K yesterday, downtown Little Rock. Next weekend, we have a 1 mile race in Searcy. And it's my I did a 2 mile race in Conway roughly a month ago or so, and I was least excited about that race as any of these Grand Prix races I've done. I am more relaxed the longer the distance. The half marathon is my favorite distance because you can find just your stride and go. I've just gotten to where I know how to pace myself for that. Just the longer the distance, the more comfortable I am. I was more relaxed yesterday. I don't get nervous at these things, but I feel more comfortable in the ones I know how I'm going to do. I know about the range I'm going to do. This one I said I think I can come in under 49 minutes, beyond or under 50 minutes. Beyond that, I was unsure. And yeah, and breaking it down to just 1 mile is that's not fun. A 1 mile race is just about pure pain the whole time. I mean, you're pushing yourself. You basically start your kick uh almost at the start of the race, it feels like. Now you really find your kick toward the end. Like you don't really kick. You'll start strong. This is my experience with the 1 mile race. You'll start strong, you'll taper off a little bit, or when you get to the halfway point, there is a turnaround at this race. Like it's a turnaround, and that's when I'll look at my watch to see how I'm doing. And then you come around a corner, and that's basically you just gradually start your kick. And then you'll get in competition with people around you. That will naturally help push yourself too. Competition is always a great thing to improve your time. It's amazing what other people can do to push you when you're not even really meaning to. Um, I know that's one benefit to competition at a live race scene like that. But I going into this race, okay, I had set goals for myself as far as what I wanted to do. These first seven, I believe we're seven races through the Grand Prix now, and I have met every single goal. So that's kind of telling me I'm setting the bar too low. It's probably not a good thing if I have 20 goals overall and I meet every single one. Maybe my goals aren't set, I'm not setting them high enough. And my previous best time for a 1 mile race was 6 minutes 27 seconds, which I did in 2019 at this coming race, the Wildcat Extra Mile. And really the only reason I did the race last year was because I saw that I was the record holder for my age group at the time. So I was like, hey, I got to go, it wasn't even defend it because I was past that age group at that point. But for whatever reason, I just felt the need to go run that race. I came in at 6:30, and my record got obliterated. I mean, just destroyed by who I believe is the fastest. He's the fastest guy in our run club. And I mean, he just destroyed it. But I mean, it was the Wildcat Extra Mile became a Grand Prix race last year, I believe. So because of that, you're going to have a lot of competition, a lot of faster runners taking part. And honestly, if I'm a record holder for a race, it's probably not good for the race. It means that a lot of people that it means that there aren't many people doing it. Like I'm above average as far as a runner, but I'm not a record holder and I shouldn't be a record holder. So it's good that it got obliterated. So another long-winded way of saying I think I will set my goal. I didn't know what I was going to set my goal to be coming into it prior, but I'm going to set my goal on this show, make it public, to come in under 6 minutes.
Okay.
And your thoughts?
On your goal?
Okay, if you were betting money, would you say that I would meet that goal or come up short?
I feel like you're going to come a little short. I mean, you've been running a lot more and you have PR'd a lot of your races recently.
Just one.
Well, the marathon
Okay, yeah, the marathon.
and then this 10K that you just did.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, but again, like you said, it's harder to kind of figure out your mile. And so I think you're going to come just a little short of that.
You're probably right, but here's my reason as to why. One, that's a for to go from 6:30 to 5:58 or whatever. It's a lot of 32 seconds is a long time. You can
Yeah.
cover a lot of distance when you're basically going at 1 mile pace speed. I mean, that's a lot of distance to be covered. One, I think the thing that's really going to get me though is there are two heats. There's an elite heat, which I believe is 6 and under, and it's everything else. And I signed up for this race months ago. I wanted to get in at that early price fee and just get it out of the way. Like, okay, I can afford to like sign up for this month, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'm certain I had signed myself up for I believe it's 620 and above. I think that's how it's listed on their website. It's heat one is the elite heat is 6 minutes and under, and the other is, well, I guess it's anything above 6 minutes. I don't know. But I was like, no way I'm coming in under that. And you don't want to, last thing you want to do is be out there with people you don't belong with. At least that's my case. I lack shame in a lot of ways, but I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that person that's clearly out there with people I don't belong out there with. So unless I think I would have to be, and I'm doing this, I'm already preparing for this. For my heat, when I did it last year, I was kind of like jumbled in there. I kind of waited to get into that corral, which was a bad idea because I was bobbing and weaving the first 100 yards or so. And this time I'm going to make it a point to get at the very front. I'm going to get as close to the very front as I can, if not the very front, because I will be one of the faster people in that heat. But as far as that elite heat, maybe I could break six if I was in that group because, like I said, I would feel like a pressure to keep up with them. But that's not a reason to jump in that heat either. So at the time I signed up, I was like, I don't belong in that group. I think I could hang with that group, toward the back now. But yeah, it's too late for that. I'm gonna have to just get myself to the very front of this race or to the very front of this heat and go that way. So that'll be my strategy. I'll just get in there early and get toward the front and go from there. When is your heat scheduled to go? I believe it's last, isn't it?
It is last because I am doing the non-competitive walk run heat. So like you mentioned, there's the elite heat and then everyone else, and they do that for men and women. So there will be 4 heats before me, and then there's the women non-competitive, and then I think it has the men non-competitive after that. Um, so I'm not competing. Well, I am competing, but not competing with everyone else.
Yeah, the elite heat is men and women together. I remember that last year. That it's men and women together, and then there's a men's division and then a women's division as far as anything below or past the elite heat mark. But I feel like the non-competitive ones should just be together.
You would think that, but I really think it said like women, like there was one for women and one for men. So
Well, that's interesting. And plus, they're doing like a kids' fun run too. We could be wrong on this. I've not looked at the website in a while. Are you looking at it now?
I am pulling it up. Yes.
So
So
what is the elite heat one?
so heat one is elite heat, and it is 6 mile men and sub 6 mile men and sub 630 women. And
Okay.
then heat two is women all ages competitive. And then heat three is men all ages competitive. And then heat four is a fun run, walk, non-competitive, but still timed. And then they had a virtual runner or walker as well.
So the men and women are together
They
for
are.
the non-competitive. That makes sense. Okay. So yeah, I still feel like I did the right thing signing up in the group I did because yeah, sub 6 minutes back then just seemed like it would be an impossible thing for me to do. It still may be. It still may be something I can't do, but I'm at least going to give myself a chance to do that. by getting up at the very front of this one. Um, it's a yeah, it's not my favorite race by any means. Not this race itself, just the 1 mile race in general. It's just a brutal pace for 6 minutes, more or less, give or take, for me. So it's not going to. So I'm going to be very tired at the end of it. But also at the same time, you're going to be like, oh, and I'm already done. I'm already done with my race for the day. So that's it. So you get rewarded for that pace and that distance by being done early, but it's just a brutal pace for that 6 minutes or so, or whatever pace you're doing. So, any goals for you? Like we just finish is what you said, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have a goal. I'm afraid to say that goal out loud.
You have to say it on the show. You can't do that to the listeners.
This so reminder that I walk run, so I do intervals. And the 5K that we did a couple weeks ago, I had about a 15-minute mile pace, and so my goal is 13. I feel like I can maybe do that. I'm doing a different intervals. I already have them set up, so we'll see how that goes.
So sub 13,
Yeah,
I think you can do that.
I hope so, but we'll see.
I mean, you actually going to run, walk, or are you going to like just maintain a certain jog?
I'm gonna run walk because I have to watch my heart rate continuously because I can't let my heart rate get too high. So I will have to walk to bring my heart rate back down.
That makes sense. All right. Well, I will be cheering you on once I catch my breath, which I will by then. Um, but yeah, it's a well done race, and it's mostly straight. It is mostly straight. You have one curve where you do a turnaround, and the turnaround is, of course, naturally going to slow you down. But it's really just one. It'll be 3 turns, including the turnaround. The rest is just straight. It's straight. It's flat. So uh, we have as good a shot as any to meet our goals at this race. It's a friendly course in that regard. Okay, 1 mile race this weekend or this coming weekend, next Saturday, April 6th. Yeah, in Searcy. So I don't know if there are spots left available, but if you're interested, visit Wildcat Extra Mile on Run Sign Up. I don't know if there's an official website, but just Google Wildcat Extra Mile, Searcy, Arkansas, and the Run Sign Up link website will take you right there, and you can register accordingly. Okay, and lastly, let's talk about what I had mentioned earlier. Let's talk about virtual races, our thoughts, views on them, and everything in between. When was the first time you had heard of a virtual race?
It's been probably a while since I've heard of them because a lot of races, when you sign up, there's always an option for a lot of them have an option to do it virtually, which I appreciate. And so it's probably been like 5 or more years that I've known about virtual races.
But why do you appreciate it?
I don't like people.
Okay.
And so if I can still get the t-shirt and the medal and whatever else without having to be around all the people, that's great. Also, I think it was just last week that I talked about I don't like waking up early for races. And so if I can then also do that on my own time, I appreciate that a lot more.
And if anyone wondering how you show proof that you completed a race virtually, how it works is you typically take whatever fitness app you're using, whether it's your fitness watch, your Garmin, Apple Watch, whatever. Uh, use Strava, Under Armour, Nike, whatever running, like I said, whatever fitness app you choose. You go out for your you go out for your run, for your race, whatever that distance is going to be. Let's say you signed up for a 5K virtually. You go out and you run a 5K on your own time. You track it with your fitness app of choice, and you typically screenshot your results as proof of completion. And then you submit that screenshot to whatever website or email is given there on the, I guess, the run site, or just whatever registration link was used, or they provide. Say, hey, send your results here if you do this virtually. And after that, and it's verified, after you do that and your results are verified, as in it's, you typically, they will look at it and just make sure you didn't cheat, like you didn't have a crazy time or anything, like you didn't strap it to your dog, or, for the last half of the race or whole race, whatever, or get on your bike and do it. Once they confirm you didn't cheat, they will just usually either mail you your award or say, hey, you can pick it up at this location between these dates, is typically how they do it. Now, the first time, and going back to being not liking people, uh, I would say it's probably. Do you think it's fair to say most runners are extroverted people?
I feel like it's maybe 50-50, honestly.
You think it's 50-50?
I do because running is it's an individual thing, but for you to kind of build a community, you have to be a little extroverted. So I feel like the people who like join run clubs and things like that in their cities, they're probably more of the extroverted people. And then there's all the other people who are just doing it on their own and they're not really doing it for the community. They're doing it for the exercise, or they're doing it just because they enjoy running and are probably more like me and just don't like people.
Yeah, when you put it out that way, I tend to agree. See, I'm thinking of people at a race scene. Like that's mostly what I'm thinking of. So those people that are introverted aren't going to sign up for a race. They just want to go out and get their run in, right?
We
Um,
still want the bling though.
yeah. I mean, I'm an introverted guy, but I can be. You and I both can be extroverted when we need to be. Like you have far more friends than I do. I have like you have an insane amount of weddings that you've gone to and are still planning to go to. So we're as far as I'm concerned, you're way more extroverted than I am. I've got my handful of people I like, and I'm really good on everything else. Like that's about all I need. Uh, but I can. It's like you said. I want the bling, and I can be extroverted when I have to be. But when I'm in that race environment, I feel like everybody is just chatty Cathy. Like I would say it feels like at least 75% of them are naturally extroverted people. So it's still hard for me to see that 50-50 split, but it might be closer than I think just because I'm not considering all those other people that just kind of want to go do it on their own. Because I would, for especially for a training run, I'd really, I don't know. I'm 50. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I want to run alone some days, but like I would love to go. I mean, I enjoy running with my youngest brother too. But now he's gotten to where he's way faster than I am and naturally wants to go faster. So it's not as fun as it was, a year or two ago, back when we were close to the, same level. But uh yeah, just virtual races in general, they are viewed as, I would say I'd say it's a taboo thing. I'd mentioned that earlier amongst the running community because people think if it's, and I kind of get it to an extent. Like they look at it as nothing that should be celebrated or even something that takes place. I would even say is how a lot of runners feel about it, and that's a little odd to me. But when I say I kind of get it is because a lot of people fall in love with the race scene, the environment itself of of a live race. I did. I'm one of those people. You go to a big race like a Little Rock Marathon or something like that, or even something Saturday like the Capital City Classic. You see all the people there, you see the environment you're running in, you see the scenery, the camaraderie, the cheering on from people, and even amongst the runners themselves. I get why you, because it's all the things I've maybe have negatively said about runners. It's a very welcoming community. It's a very encouraging community. So I really have a lot of good things to say about runners in that regard. Everybody, they're cheering you on. Yeah, we're all going to compete. We want to beat you. We want to beat each other, but we want you to achieve your goals too, if that makes sense. So for people that look at a virtual race, they'll say, they're just like, it's not real. It's not a real thing. And no, it's not the same as a live race. But like the first going back, the first time I had ever heard of a virtual race, I remember I was sitting at work, scrolling, and this was probably like 2000, who knows, between that 2017 to 2019 window, pre-COVID. I would see things about virtual race companies putting, they'd have medals and say, "Hey, run your distance this way," like how I explained, and then we'll send you this medal. Of course, you sign up and then you do it, and then they send you your award. I wasn't big on it because I didn't really get it. I was like, why can't I just? I mean, I'll just go for a training run. If I'm going to do that. But for other people, it could be encouragement to take part in a training run. That's their way of motivating themselves to go out for a run. But veterans of the running community, found it very taboo back then. Just wasn't something to be celebrated or anything like that. And some have argued like it because it's for profit. It's for profit, but any race you sign up for is for profit. I mean, yeah, it's non-profit. They say they donate a lot of things, which they do. They'll donate a lot of stuff, but there has to be some profit to keep the thing going. To be able to purchase more shirts for next year, medals, and things like that. Those things aren't cheap. So that's why registration costs are very high for a lot of these live races. And another thing about virtual races, they're not going to be as expensive typically. And that's another plus to them. Pardon me. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on have you participated in any virtual race?
Yes. I participated in one. It was during COVID. It was typically one that was held in person, and it was a fundraiser for the Junior League of Memphis. I was a member of the Junior League of Memphis at the time, and but obviously during COVID, we didn't do anything in person, but I still wanted to sign up for that and complete it was just a 5K, so that there would still be that one was for charity, but I still wanted to do it, so I've done one.
Yeah, and when I say that all of them are for profit, I mean they have to be for profit so that you can, yeah, they'll donate to charity and they'll do all these other things, but some of those expenses do have to go to purchasing the stuff for the race itself, t-shirts, awards, things like that. Um, you have to have permits for the city you have to purchase a permit to put on a live race. I mean, there are a lot more costs involved than people think. And you could have a reasonably priced live race, and people will still gripe about having to pay 35 dollars for a 5K. And it's like, yeah, but you get a medal, a shirt, like all this other stuff, and they'll still some, not all. In fact, I'd say the vast majority won't, but some will still gripe about that price. But this stuff, I mean, the stuff costs money. So, but there are virtual races out there that, yeah, they're for profit, but it's primarily to keep the thing going, um, and some of those do, donate to charity as well. So it's really just a different setting. And I bring it up because you'll see I'm in a lot of running groups on social media, and I'll see just a random. There was one post in general I remember that was put out probably 2 or 3 years ago. A guy said something along the lines of virtual races are nothing but a t-shirt and metal shop. Changed my mind. Just out of the blue, just decided to say that. And it got a billion likes and things like that. And my thought is I mean, that's exactly what a live race is. If you I mean, seriously, think about it. You're going out and you're running and you're getting a t-shirt and a medal at the conclusion of it. What's the difference? One, you're in a live race setting, the other you're doing it on your own. There's no difference between the two.
That's true, because I mean, I only signed up for the Little Rock Half Marathon because I wanted the medal. I did not do it for any other reason, but I wanted that medal.
And there are people that will sign up for a race, and kind of these folks are kind of few and far in between, but they'll sign up just for the cause. Just for things like Susan G. Komen race, things like that. Great cause, by the way. But there are people that will sign up just for whatever charity is their money is being donated to, and that makes sense. But like I said, even those races will bring in some profit just to cover the cost of putting on the race itself, because that stuff is not cheap. It's not as cheap as people think it is to put on. Um, I'm going to make a weird comparison. It's like people that say they want to open a restaurant. They think it's a good idea to open a restaurant because they can cook. But then they get into it and they don't realize how much time and effort and money it takes to keep something like that going. It's the same thing with a race. That's why you'll only see certain races last maybe a decade. And I'm talking like really good races. For example, the Russ Vegas Half Marathon in Russellville, Arkansas. Great race. It was an awesome race, but this past year was their last year doing it. They had a 10-year run, and the creators they were done. They had put too much time, effort, and everything into putting it on every year, and they needed to go have their own life again. It made sense, and so there's a lot more work and stuff like that than people realize. Um, I will say, so people are going to feel the way they feel about it no matter what, because runners are just very tribal in general. Like they've usually made up their mind, and there's no changing their minds. At least most of them, as far as how they feel about certain things. Uh, y- and that's anything as far as what running shoes they choose. Like some are Team Hoka no matter what, and some are Team Brooks no matter what. And now the new one is what's the what is the shoe brand? Like I can't tell if it's a DC or an OG. I don't know what it is.
The only other one I know of is the On Cloud.
There it is. OC. There it is.
Okay.
I was like, one of us can figure this out. And I haven't met anyone that has had nothing but the highest praise for those shoes. Like it's the greatest thing ever, according to them. And they could be right. I've never owned a pair. I've always had Brooks because they work for me. And so I will probably be Team Brooks, but I am open to other shoes also. If somebody wanted to go buy me a $250 pair of Nike Vaporflies, I will try them out. Although the other shoe brands have caught on and are making their version of it. Um, Hoka's, were the ugliest shoes for the longest time, but they've, I guess, gotten someone that knows style in the last several years because they look a lot better than they used to. But that's just an example of, runners decide what they like and that's what they stick to, and that's their opinion of it no matter what. So all I can do is make an argument for virtual races. I will come out and say I'm a little biased.
That's what I was gonna say, is I think you might be a little biased in this situation.
I am biased because I am the creator of the virtual race series Rhino Races. Visit rhinoraces.com if you're interested. Um, but in fact, here's my shirt. I'll just sit up a little bit, get the metal out of the way. For those of you watching on Spotify and YouTube, as my pocket goes in my armchair there. But Rhino Races was a race series that I created during COVID. And because all my live races had gotten canceled, they had all gotten canceled or postponed. So I needed to find something to keep me going, like to keep me motivated. I'll put it that way. And I had looked up virtual races and I didn't like the medals for a lot of them. I thought they were not there's anything wrong with this, but I found a lot of them to be more feminine looking, the virtual races, and were kind of feminine themes and things like that, like princess themed and all that. And they just looked like little kid medals, nothing someone like me would want. I'll put it that way. Your typical dude's dude. And I just thought, and I would Google things that I wanted to see in a virtual race series just to see if things like that existed. Like, is there a tougher challenge, like a virtual race challenge? And there's some good ones out there. Like Battle Miles is one virtual race series that's a very original creative race series, but it's more of a OCR type of thing. That's obstacle course racing. Like you do push-ups and you wear vests and things like that. You'll carry like a sandbag or something similar to it for it. Like you'll do a 2 mile race. I did one and we did like a 2 mile race and you'd have to do like, I don't know, 20 burpees or something after each mile, something like that. So it's a fun way to switch it up if that's your thing, if you're into that type of thing. But really, I'm more of the running type. Like, just give me your bait, just give me your run. I don't need to do all that extra stuff in between. But you know, they have a they have a pretty strong following and people that just really enjoy doing that type of thing. But basically, when I created Rhino Races, I created something that I wanted to see in a virtual race series and something that was different. Like you can combine that race scene, but do it in a virtual setting. So that's where the inspiration came from. And I currently, Rhino Races currently has 5 different races: a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, and a unique challenge that I dubbed the Rhino Ultra. How it works is you have, upon signing up, immediately after you sign up and register for that race, you have 10 weeks to complete 10 half marathons. So you have to complete 10 half marathons within your 10-week time limit, and it starts immediately upon signing up. So I have a Hall of Fame bundle where if you purchase all 5 races at a discounted price. I strongly recommend you start the Rhino Ultra. You make that your first race because there's no time limit on the rest. So that's the one race that there is a time limit for. And I thought, well, how do I make it challenging to where you feel like you're accomplishing something, but it's also not just impossible for the average person to do. So to add to it, all 10 of your half marathons that you run have to be less than 3 hours. If there is a 3 next to your half marathon time, it doesn't count. So all of those runs have to be in 2:59:59 or less. So, what are your thoughts on that in general? You're shaking your head.
That is not accessible to people like me. Um, so I mean, I understand it. It's a challenge. I get that. I feel like the challenge though is doing 10 half marathons in 10 weeks and that you shouldn't put a time limit on it, but that's just my opinion. Other people might disagree with that, but as someone who just finished a half marathon in 3 hours and 44 minutes, I'm not saying I could do that every week. But it still could happen.
But see, that's why I also created a 5K, 10K, those races, for other people to get involved with, because and there's no time limit on those. The only time limit there is on the Rhino Ultra itself. So, touching up on Rhino races some more, just to talk about what makes it different than say uh just your typical virtual race. And this is not a full Rhino races plug. That's not what this is intended to do. That's why I gave kudos to Battle Miles and other race series like that. But what makes Rhino races different is it's not just one race you sign up for and then they send you a medal. I mean, you can do that. Um, but there is no challenge out there like the Rhino Ultra. It is the toughest, uh, or at least most endurance wise, the toughest virtual race out there. The Rhino Ultra, that is. The inspiration behind that is I've always been interested in ultra marathon running. We talked a lot about the Barkley marathons, on the last episode. I've always been intrigued by that, but I never thought I had the skill set to do an ult, or quite frankly, the want to. I won't say I didn't have the skill set because I probably do, but I don't want to go do a 100-mile race. At least I don't think I do. That's never say never. I've even thought about 50 milers, but so I may work my way up to something like that. But when I created Rhino races, I never saw myself doing something like that. So how can I make a race that's ultra marathon like for someone like myself? And that's how the Rhino Ultra was born. I was like, I love the half marathon. It's kind of the perfect distance, but how do I make it more challenging? Because the half marathon for me is a pretty relaxed race. It's not too long, it's not too short, but how do I make it, challenging? Okay, do 10 of them and within a 10-week time frame. And it's not you do one per week. You can do as many as you want and you have 10 weeks to do it. So that's where the inspiration came from. And you even get a Rhino Ultra belt buckle, like the typical. They don't do medals for ultra marathon racing. The like the for the longest time, the traditional way to get your award for an ultra marathon is a belt buckle. It's a trophy style belt buckle, and that's what I created. If you're interested, I could grab one real quick, or you could visit rhinoraces.com and just just scroll down to the Rhino Ultra, and there's a picture of the buckle right there. And also, my Hall of Fame bundle is named because of the Hall of Fame section at Rhino Races. Rhino Races has their very own Hall of Fame section, Hall of Fame page, where all finishers are listed with their times next to each race. And that's the incentive to complete all 5 races as well. Uh, you not only get Hall of Fame induction on the Rhino Races website, you get a Hall of Fame gold belt buckle on top of that. And that's your standard award you get. There's no additional fee for that after signing up. After you complete all 5 of your races, Rhino Races ships your Hall of Fame buckle to you by mail. So easy peasy, and that's the other thing, you can do it on your own time. And also, one thing that makes Rhino Races different, treadmills are allowed, and you're not going to PR on a treadmill. You're just not. You can run faster in an outdoor setting. Um, but treadmills are allowed, and especially for the Rhino Ultra, because not everybody. And the main reason for that is not everybody can. A lot of people won't get off work until late at night or something when they don't feel, especially women, when they don't feel comfortable going out and running that far, after dark, especially when you're probably going to be by yourself. So for that reason, or that's one of the reasons. Also, I don't think you can be a tough runner, but you don't necessarily have to prove it by running in minus 13 degrees with 6 inches of snow on the ground. No, if you can go get your run in on a treadmill, do that too. So you can really do this race any time of year. All you have to do is track it with your fitness app. Just make sure your fitness watch has a speed sensor to where you can accurately track that. Just taking a picture of it on the treadmill isn't going to do. And you actually have to take steps in order to prove that you did it. So that's what makes Rhino races different. than other virtual race series out there. So that was the inspiration behind creating uh, Rhino Races itself and making it different than just your standard virtual race where you sign up, get your medal, and that's fine too if that's what you want to do. But this is a way to just kind of add added incentive, motivation, etc., and get more bling too on top of that. So that was the inspiration behind Rhino Races, was to have something to strive for and shoot for during COVID. And here we are, three. It launched in February of 2021. Here we are, 3+ years later, still going strong. So yeah, again, visit rhinoraces.com if you're interested in signing up. Um, their slogan, I will say it here, Rhino Races is the premier virtual running series. So check it out, rhinoraces.com if you're interested. Anything to add, Michelle?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Rock on. Well, those are really the only other virtual races I know of that are just that are consistently going. There are virtual race companies out there that put on races with it. They do come up with different themes all the time and put stuff out there. I can't think of the names of them off the top of my head, but you can Google virtual races, and I mean, you'll see those pop up at the top of the screen. Um, like I said, if you're into OCR type of stuff, obstacle course racing, Battle Miles is a good one. If you're just looking for something that's a different take on your standard road race, I highly recommend Rhino Races. Again, a little biased there, but I mean, I'm proud of the product that we've put out there, that we've worked hard to put out there. So um, it truly is the premier virtual running series, and I highly recommend it. But if you're just wanting to dip your feet into it and get just sign up for a standard 5K or it, and they have other races out there too. I mean, just a 2 miler or a 5 miler, things like that. Just Google whatever you're interested in doing virtual race wise, and there's going to be something out there for you. But the biggest benefit to me of doing a virtual race is time. And like I said, typically it's cheaper than your live race. Most live races are around, they can be anywhere between 75 and $100. Your standard virtual race usually isn't going to be more than 20. The Rhino Races 5K race, for example, is $20. It's 20. Now you pay shipping. You pay for the shipping, but that's, I don't know what the exact number is. Maybe anywhere between $3 and $5. So that's still going to be a lot cheaper. And another thing that makes Rhino Races different, the name Rhino Races has a lot to do with the medals themselves. The Rhino is, as I described it when creating it, I wanted it as thick as rhino armor. Because my favorite races aren't necessarily, my favorite medals, race medals, aren't the ones that, because a lot of them just keep going. They just keep expanding as far as size and diameter. And my favorite metals are the ones that are thicker. They're just thicker metals and a little heavier. And I said, I want mine to be like this, but even thicker. So that's where the inspiration for that came from. Now, the Rhino Races 5K and marathon medals are definitely different sizes and diameter. The marathon one is big enough to feel like you really accomplished something. I mean, when you put it around your neck, you're going to feel like you really accomplished something. And that's what it's designed to do if you've run a marathon. But the 5K is just as the 5K medal, pardon me, is just as thick as the marathon medal itself. So um, you're not I don't know, you're not getting anything of lesser value if you decide to do the 5K. So
That's true. I have seen the medals, so I can speak to the quality of them. They are all very nice. They're thick. Um, they are very nice medals. I've seen the belt buckles too, so I can't compare that to anything because I've obviously never gotten a belt buckle as any kind of award, but the medals are very nice.
well, that's another thing that makes Rhino races different. So there you go. But again, if you're just interested in virtual races in general, you're going to get nothing from but love about it from this show. And it's something you can do with your friends, with your dog, whoever your running partner is. So because live races aren't typically going to allow your dog to run with you. So another pro for the virtual races and virtual race community. But that's about all I got. Anything to add for this episode, Michelle?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay. We'll be back next week and we will talk about the 1 mile race that she and I do. And I believe or at least we're going to attempt to take video of
Yes.
each other as we finish. We'll post that on the socials on X at Tough Runs Don't Let or what TR Don't Last.
Yes.
Yeah,
And we also have Instagram. So they'll be on
there you
Instagram
go.
as well.
What's the Instagram handle?
It is, I think it's also TL Don't Last.
Okay. All right. So there you go. Be sure to follow the socials, like our video on YouTube while you're at it, and hit the subscribe button. It does help us out a lot. Subscribe on Spotify as well, and you can also check us out on Apple Podcast. But my voice is going away, so I need to get more water and get out of here. But we'll recap the race next week, our 1 mile race, and talk more about that. And if there's time, I might even talk about my opinion on porta potties at races and whether or not you should bring food or drink in them.
We will not be talking about that on the podcast next week. You have no worries.
Well, we can't this episode because my voice is gone. But we'll get out of here before I sound more foolish with my voice. So, signing out, this is Grandpal,
I'm Michelle.
and we'll see y'all next time.
See ya.